What's the latest? It's already organized, not the activity that you might currently be involved in organizing, but what was the last plan that you involved?
The last one was the Smith Brothers in Henderson, North Carolina, and Blue Jeans Corporation.
How did it differ from what the very first activity you had as an organizer and the very last one that you've done as an organizer? How would you say the activities differed?
Well, these plants that we organized, the last one's in North Carolina, we had contracts with this company in other areas. And actually the company wasn't resisting the organization.
Do you find that's true more often now?
No, you don't. But where we've had a relationship with the company over a period of years, and they have, in fact, Shaped and Marks, the first company we had a contract with, owns the Blue Jeans Corporation. They went into jeans business. They had never been nothing. They went into the jeans and making business. They bought out a plant we had organized in Whiteville, North Carolina, and they decided that jeans business was good, so they was going to try to go into the jeans business, which there hadn't been nothing but a suit house. Well, for 3 years, they just kept telling us, putting us off about bringing the other 3 shops in the union because they didn't know if they was going to stay in the business, blah, blah, blah. Well, now, last June, when the contract came open in Whiteville, the company agreed if we could sign a majority, they'd recognize the union without an election, which is proper. You can do that under the act by card check or by... Well, nothing's to keep a company from recognizing the union if they want to without an election. It's better to go through some process and get certified.
Okay, do you find, though, that...
But I was fixing to say, even though the company is not fighting, the people cannot believe that their jobs are not in jeopardy. Or the company would discriminate against them. You still have some of that fear in there because they just have seen so much discrimination because of union activity. It's almost as hard to get them to sign a card. We didn't have that trouble in the big Smith shop. But at the Blue Jean shop, which is known as ENC, we never got a majority due to labor turnover. The labor turnover in that little shop, well, I don't see how in the world the company hardly could operate. We're constantly training because that costs money. And I'm concerned about it because the company has to make money in order to give company people benefits.
You were saying that Knoxville had been organized along about the same time as La Follette. What was the company? It
was known then as S. Leibowitz and Company, and they made Mackinaws, those heavy Mackinaws, which are very popular back then. They're today a big shirt corporation, public shirt corporation. When we organized them in the early 30s, they had 5 plants. Today, I think they have about 26. The latest was in Macon, Georgia.
So La Follette and Knoxville were both organized in the early 30s.
That's right.
And you did take part in the organizing?
No,
but
no. I was not. I was in when they were organized. My first experience in organizing in Knoxville was in Ford, Paul Tape Company, which makes us in suits. And we're organized today.
You went with Amalgamated as an organizer.
We were mainly in textile. I was paid for the Amalgamated, but I was mainly organized in textile.
What year?
36.
Okay. And then your first organizing activity after that was?
I mean, I worked on the Alabama mills. These are mills, Avondale Mills, which Donald Coleman big delivered with. And then the first organizing on shirt plant was here in Atlanta now.
I wanted to get some names. You said that you shared an apartment with a girl in La Follette. What was her name?
She's a retiree of ours. We're here. Her name was, she was Aline Craig. Aline Berry at the time. She's Aline Shirey now.
Was she an employee of the union at the
no,
time?
she was already in the plant.
That's what I
She
thought.
was a member of the union in the plant.
But then she came to work for the...
No, she never did come to work for the union.
Oh, I
She
see.
moved to, she would never belong to this construction worker. She would not work a day and pay dues to the United Construction Workers. So I got her a job in the Irish shirt plant. She came here, and she's a retiree now of that plant, on disability, retired on disability. And it's so funny, when we were trying to get the health and welfare in the contract in La Folle, she said, well, I ain't no sense in this. Let's just put that money in our paycheck. I'll never live long enough to draw that retirement. And now she's retired and is drawing a pension from the amalgamated, along with her Social Security, because she's become disabled to work. She went to work in church back when she was 14. And her mother was instrumental, and she passed away last December at the age of 87 here in Atlanta. She was one of the first people to have to organize in that La Follette shirt plant.
When you were in La Follette and the day that the girls surrounded you and thought you were going to get beaten up, and you said you called the National, who did you talk to?
Brother Jacob S. Potovsky, who was Secretary-Treasurer then.
And where were their offices?
In New York City.
New York.
And he's now, of course, retired. He was the president of our union to retire 2 years ago. Yeah, he was the one I talked to.
What's your position now?
I'm area organizing director.
What does the area include? I'm sorry.
Georgia, North and South Carolina, part of Florida, part of Virginia. When I have to go, we don't have too much in Florida, and not too much in the part of Virginia that I go in, but mainly North and South Carolina.
How many members does the union have now?
Nationwide, 295,000. We're not a big industry.
That sounds like a lot of people to me.
Well, it's not one of the biggest things, because there's so many needs, especially in the cotton garment. There's 205 non-union garment plants in the state of Georgia, ranging anywhere from 50 employees to 500.
But the cotton garments are the ones that come under the...
Well, no, I told you.
That's what I was getting confused about.
Yeah, well, now we organize in there. When the AFLs and the CIO merged, I believe it was in 57. I think it was somewhere along that line. They didn't hold us to that. We organized in anything in men's clothing. The only pledge we signed a non-raiding pact, which means that we will not go in where the United Garment Workers.
But the United Garment Workers do not have a plant organized.
So if there's no union, we don't go in, and if there's a people got a union, we don't.
But if they don't, I mean, if it's
yeah, we've got a right to organize it if there's no union.
They're making blue jeans or what have you.
Right,
anything.
that's right.
Except, now, but when you get into ladies' garments, you get into the ladies' garment workers.
Well, the International Lady Garment Workers Union and our union works very close together. Nowadays, we have men's shops who make some women's wear. We have some women's wear shops who make some men's wear. If the predominantly are the IOT has had them under contract, they keep them. We have some shops under contract who make some women's wear. And same applies to the International Ladies Garment Workers shops, but they're predominantly women, have been over the years, women in their business.
In the early days, when the union was first getting started, was there much competition between the, much ill feeling and that sort of thing? Just be sure you don't come into one of our plants, one that we should have.
Not with us with the IOG. Now, in the days when we were CIO and UG was AFL, we had the problem of them following us and trying to make a deal with the boss. And I'm not saying this, it happened. Everywhere we'd go, they'd be following us.
Did they come behind you in some plants that you had
Yeah,
organized and tried?
yeah, and they signed some shops up where we had had activity going. They went and signed contracts. We started on Salant Company in Tennessee, and we organized and had won elections in 3 of their plants. Well, they couldn't go and sign a contract there because we had board charges against them. We were trying to get a contract, and we had board charges filed for failure to bargain in good faith, which is a violation of the National Labor Relations Act. They had 3 more plants. Let's see. Lawrenceville. 3 more plants that we had never had had some activity in, but we had never reached a level where we could have an election. So they called the United Garments in and signed a contract for them 3, because they figured we'd won elections in 3 of the plants, we'd be moving on to the next.
Who called you?
The Salant Company.
They called you. When was this? 40s?
Yes, it was in 1948. We organized Martin. That was the first Salant plant we organized. And they sold it out to another company rather than deal with it. Then we won the election in Lexington, Tennessee. And they wouldn't bargain with that. We won the election in Union City, Tennessee. And they wouldn't bargain with that. And due to the fact that they had 8 plants, and we didn't have 2 of them longer, and we couldn't have a strike, because they could just shift the work into one of the plants. Strike would have been ineffective. We couldn't strike, so our only recourse was to go to the board. Well, the labor board had, the unions had to sign what was known as the no communist pledge. They had to swear they weren't unions, although we never had been charged with them. We had to go in and swear we weren't communists. The leaders of the union, the presidents of all the unions, had to go down and sign an affidavit and swear that they weren't communists. So the labor board had ruled that only the heads of the international unions. Now wait a minute, is that right? The labor board ruled that only the heads of the international union had to sign the no communist pledge, not the heads of the AFL or the CIO as such, which Philip Murray was in the present CIO. But he didn't sign it because he figured nobody would think he was a communist because he was a devout Catholic. But the Supreme Court reversed that decision and said that all, even the presidents of the AFL and CIO, had signed. So that washed out 10 years of work on the Salant plant. That board decision. It nullified because we had no authority before the board. That wiped out. See, the board, labor board ruled that as long as Sidney Hillman, as president of the amalgamator, or Jack Potofsky, who Hillman died in 46, and Jack Potofsky as president of the national side, that cleared our union to act before the board. But the Supreme Court, somebody filed a charge, put it before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that Philip Murray, as head of the CIO, had to sign to clear our union. So it nullified our cases before the board.
And you had personally been involved in organizing those plants. So a lot of years of your work has just gone down the drain. Well, what happened? How did you recoup?
Today we have the Union City plant under contract. We went in there and won another election and had that shop organized because they hired United Garment workers. could never get in there because the people knew how they acted. The United Garment Workers still has the ones they signed for them, but they never have, or we neither have ever put them in elections. I don't know why they don't have elections. If they don't have a contract election, we've never been able to win an election in that sense. In the election term in Tennessee.
United Garment Workers, not the IC.
International Ladies. The United Garment Workers. They organize it. They don't do the organizing, but they most of their contracts they get through the top.
I had been under the impression that was the organization, along with the Journeyman Tailors.
No,
that had gone
no, the Journeyman Tailors Union, the men who made the suits, special order, or did busheling.
Right. But didn't those
You know
two...
what busheling is, don't you?
No.
Well, a busheler is a guy who works in the department store, does alterations, things on the suit. They're bushelers, but they're Journeyman Tailors. They belong to the Journeyman Tailors. When they were on, they did. And in fact, I tried to organize a chapter of them in the early 30s among the store workers. In the tailors and the big blacks is a big company, and the bonds, and the big Odebar and White who made the bush store. And I tried to organize them in the 30s.
Well, where? In this city?
In Birmingham.
In Birmingham.
That's when I was volunteer.
Did you succeed?
No, I had one meeting. Off the record, I blame who won the representative.
Mrs. Roosevelt?
Yeah. And I think that the woman trade union helped me a lot in some of the things now today that women's trying to do it through this coalition of ladies and women.
Okay, they were in Birmingham. And
We had a chapter in Birmingham.
Their aim was, they were not a union in themselves, were
No. It was an organization of women and helped form our union in Chicago. Jane Addams, who was a woman suffrage, not most of the suffragettes were in the women's trade union. And most of the people who belonged to the women's trade union were workers and union members. But 10% of the membership by the Constitution could be non-workers and non-union people. That's what we drew a lot of prominent social women who were for women's rights and workers' rights.
Well, what did...
Fairness, especially before the judges. No, that's what we needed back then. We got fair treatment in the court when we tried to organize. And they played a big part in the amalgamation in Chicago and in New York.
What did they do? Public relations?
Yes, and most of them women, the prominent women who were really judges, and they go down in the city and they helped us politically. And because they carried weight because of who they were. When we go down, we weren't, most of them didn't vote, And I'd like to show you the first donation to political action. The first, let's see if I can bear it with me. No, it's not. It's in my, I put it up. I had it in my purse. The first $10 I ever give to political action, the first one, our first political action group was formed in 1944. But we had to pay poll tax. Yeah, the amalgamated, or PAC we called it, the CIO. That was started by Sidney Hilton. He was the first chairman of what we called the Political Action Committee of the CIO. And in fact, he was such a, he wasn't a person that said I, he always said we. And he never got the publicity that a lot of lady leaders got because he wasn't that type of person.
Did you know him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Bessie, his wife, was one of the original strikers out of the Heart Shop. Bessie Miller, who just passed away last week. And she was one of the original strikers out there. Bessie Abrams. And as he came to this country as a young man,
What
from Lithuania.
Lithuania.
And came to work in where he met Bessie working. I know one time we were at a convention, he said something. She said, "You look, she was still working when I was on strike." But Eleanor Roosevelt had acquainted with her through the Women's Trade Union. And at the time when our union failed in the early 30s, when the first attempt, we lost a chance to organize a shop, and I lost my job. I got active. And I went to the convention they had in Chicago. Paid my way. I was a delegate from the chapter. My sister was president of the chapter. She was a delegate. Went from out of the National Military Union, paid my way. And Mrs. Roosevelt had us in Alabama to be her guest in the White House for the week.
For the week?
Spent the week at the White House. Stayed there during the convention. I learned with her. She had Berkeley's. And people like, I don't know if you remember the name, Miss Raymond Robbins, and Mary Dwyer, who were sisters. They were very young. Miss Raymond Robbins, the Robbins owned one of the Chicago newspapers back then. They were active in trying to get the vote for women. And Frances Perkins was in the military when he first Woman Secretary. In fact, Eleanor had very influential getting women more recognition. A lot of things she was sponsored. But she was so just a good human being. And to me, she was a lot more sympathetic. And her influence, she influenced all of us. But
Did say she had breakfast with you
every morning, and we
How
talked.
many people were there?
Well, there was a girl from Huntsville, out of the mills in Huntsville, and this store clerk from the city store. Her last name was Brown, Polly Brown. And then there was, there's 5 of us from Alabama.
What did Mrs. Roosevelt talk about? Did she really get involved in talking about the labor movement?
Oh, yeah.
Off the cuff or?
Well, she knows. I remember the statement she said one morning at breakfast. She said, "The longer I live, the less I care about what people say about me." She had she spoke. That's what I liked about her. She never thought about how she was going to be affected with politics and things. If she said to me, she was an honest, sincere person, and she believed in what she could back. She said this to me, and I think it's true that, and I think I'm not a good politician because I say what I think too much, and sometimes it's not good. But I am a great believer in the Democratic Party, as I believe the Democratic Party ought to be in this. Woodrow Wilson, that's when I first began to get interested in the Democratic Party. I said my father at that time, because I used to argue with him about it. And Roosevelt and Kennedy and Truman. And I'm that kind of Democrat. I'm not going back to the Southern Democrats, just wishy-washy, flip-flop, Because down here, the Democratic Party controlled people. They didn't want people to vote. They tried to discourage us. I remember when I first went there, we tried to get to vote. What I went through with.
Were you 21? Were you 21?
Yeah, what I had to go through with to get registered. And I could imagine what the black people, because they couldn't look at us and tell what we thought, but they could look at the black person and tell it was black. So I know that we had as bad as they did. As bad as we had, they must have had it a lot worse. But,
Mrs. Roosevelt had strong opinions on that.
she come to Birmingham one time. I guess about 37, 38, had a labor, had what's called labor nonpartisan league. And we was holding meetings around different churches. And they had a law, you know, that black and white couldn't sit together. We were in this First Methodist church. And she came in late and she delivered one on the side of the class. They had cops in there standing. She deliberately, to see the reading violatorium, she deliberately went over to the class. She did those. They didn't arrest her, first lady. They didn't arrest her. More than newspapers, give her the business. But she, like I said, she didn't care. We used to have picnics. I can proudly say that I never attended a segregated. I can say my union mill, legal textile, with the black people, union, and all of our conference, we never went to public places. People did something around blacks. I'm proud to say. I mean, in our union, I had sometimes state council because it was not in our union. But we'd have picnics and out in the open, and a log coming straight to the road. Blacks did. That's how it is.
You mean at your union picnics?
We used to crawl under the ropes. You know, we'd have barbecues back in the day. Well, the union was, a person belonged to the union, they had a social life. We had square dances, parties, picnics, and it was part of the family affair because people had no recreation. And it become, really was a good thing. The family came together, children. Even in Huntsville, Alabama, the next time formed a junior union with the kids. And they refused on Saturday morning to go to the movie because the projectionists joined the motion picture operators union. Just by the decided.
You were going to make a remark about something Mrs. Roosevelt had said at the...
Oh, yeah. When Truman, the Democrats were so frightened Truman couldn't get elected because of popularity. And she despised the Democratic despised them. What people want. Machinery. And, of course, they valued her opinion. Never. Always wanted her opinion. And he was going to try to change the Democratic platform. She said, let me. She said, the Democratic Party is not the first country there to get out. Today you think you could out Republicans, the Republicans, the food, but you can't do it. They've had time. And I remember that, and that's what I say today. The Democratic Party, there's got to be a difference in the Democratic Party. That's right. And a lot of the Democrats wants to pretend that there's that, what's the use of me having a Democrat that's not going to vote? That's what I say. I think today, this very time today, I think that a lot of the people that they call themselves independent, if they're thinking, could force, and I'd like to could force the more liberal or moderate people in the Republican Party out of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party people from the really Republicans and the Democratic Party out and really have a two-party system. It's in name only. I agree with all that with George Washington. It's become too much of the same stuff.
Well, during that week that you stayed in the White House, was Mrs. Roosevelt, the kind that would actually advise you as to what she thought should be done, or merely question?
She didn't do it in that way. She had a way of talking to people with their ideas. I've been with her on several occasions since then. And she came to Birmingham and called me to let us speak to women professors. It is a professor women's club she's all about. And that's what we're about. People she's interested in everything she kept up. And she called and asked me something to speak and gave me a she's just that kind. She's a wonderful woman. As I started to say, I came out of the plant. There was a man standing out there. He said, "Want you girls to come over to the plant at noon? We're going to organize that plant." And I said, "I thought they had a union." And he looked at me and said, bewildered. I mean, like you say. So I just go over there, and I get over there before they let out for lunch. So I walked across the creek. The creek run through the town. I walked across the bridge, and I got in the plant before their bell rung for lunch, and went up in the plant and got with the officer of the union and told them we're probably going to have some trouble. He is wondering what they're going to do next. So most of the girls stayed in the plant rather than go out to lunch. So during the hour of the lunch hour, they had this huge group of men, I'd say 150 or 200 men, and one or two women, and they barricaded the door. When the girls that did go out to lunch tried to get back in, wouldn't let them into work. And so then the fight ensued. We got to fight us four girls, women with the men there, and tried to open the door so the ones who was outside to come in. Because in a labor controversy like that, if the company, sometimes the company plays footsie with another union, if this is happening,